It's 2019 and we haven't had a single college football game on the market since 2013. Or have we? A little known series got some major traction over the summer, and today is the release date for the latest college football experience known as Doug Flutie's Maximum Football 2019. While it's seen releases in the past, even as recent as last year, this year's edition is promising to be truly special. Is it worth your time and money? That's what I'm here to tell you all about. So sit back, don't forget to like this video, really help us out, get subscribed, grab a cold one, and let's party. Welcome to Maximum Football 2019. Admittedly, over the summer is when I heard about this little series developed by a small team based out of Canada known as Canuck Play. Last year's version is available in the PlayStation Store as well as the Xbox Store for about $16.99. However, I've been anticipating this game. It's been 6 years since the last officially licensed NCAA game, so my appetite for college football in video game form is large. You can get this on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One starting today. Over on Twitter, I showed my disappointment at the lack of a Switch version over the summer. To my surprise, one of the developers actually responded saying that they had applied with Nintendo but they weren't interested. Which I'm not sure how to interpret that because there's a ton of shovelware in the eShop and there are no football sims on the Switch. What the crap, Nintendo? Okay. Now before we get into this review, I want to immediately say this cannot be fairly compared to Madden, NCAA 14, or any football game that has been made by a AAA developer. EA, for example, has deep pockets and endless amounts of people working on their team. Canuck Play has less people working on their game than your local bank has employees. A lot of hard work came from a small team with limited resources, so you're not going to get a Madden killer or a true NCAA replacement. However, you may find yourself enamored with what this game has to offer. Sidebar over. There is a lot to unpack in this review, so if you only want to hear about certain aspects, head to the description as there will be timestamps for which game modes I talk about and at what time. Second sidebar over. So immediately, we're going to be talking about the first feature you can select, which is Play Now. Right off the bat, there are a couple things about this mode I do not like. For one, college teams are unable to be used in this mode. If they are able to, then the path to doing so is convoluted and not obvious. In fact, switching between the United States and Canada isn't really obvious either. I accidentally found out how to switch between the US League and the Canadian League, and the way you have to do this is you have to go into the Customize option through the main menu. Here you have to press X to select which league you want to start customizing. After you switch to the league you prefer, then you back out and head into Play Now, and then you'll see the Canadian teams to choose from. It would have been a nice touch to be able to play United States vs Canada, but you can just customize the teams in one of the leagues to simulate that. But let's be honest, I'd imagine less than 1% are playing this for anything other than the college aspect. Before we get to that, we have the logo editor. This will be interesting to see what concepts some people can come up with. Just with a few minutes I tested this out, I didn't see an exorbitant amount of options, so our creativity may be limited. One drawback this game has shown me to this point is you're not getting very intuitive directions on how to do things. In the logo editor, you can see the controls mapped on the right. I kept pressing those buttons wondering if it was going to activate the ability to change the size, skew, and so on, but after messing around I figured out you have to hold that particular button down and move the direction that you are trying to achieve. I am looking forward to diving into this and seeing what kind of logos I can make. Let's jump into a Play Now game and show how it looks right off the bat. So here we have an American football game with a college rules set turned on. Immediately, you get a quick glance at the field and then you see some of the players warm up. Randomly, this is overlaid with the coin toss. As an aside, I'm glad Canuck Play included the coin toss. It seems like such an odd choice for Madden to take out this aspect when it can't be too difficult to code since we see it in this game here. However, aesthetically, I think this would be more pleasing to the eye with a bird's eye view of the field and the coin toss overlay being inserted there. This just seems like a random design choice. Also odd about the coin toss is the inability to select the side of the field to defend. Wind factor is involved, as are elements of weather, so to not see that in here is odd. Next, I love that they opted to install a very CBS inspired score overlay on the bottom. It looks clean, professional, and just downright good. On the opposite side of that spectrum, however, once a down is completed, it is pretty jarring to see the next down in yardage to be blown up over the overlay. It seems incredibly out of place and takes away the professionalism that we see with this overlay. Going back to the positive, it's simple yet extremely detailed. Elsewhere in the presentation, we have a PA announcer and no play-by-play announcers. This may either be a good thing or a bad thing depending on who you are. Me personally, I like the touch of having announcers, but I understand why it wasn't even close to the realm of realistic for Canuck Play to include it. I get lost in my sports simulation games and tend to commentate to myself anyway, so no real loss there. And let this also be me telling Canuck Play that, hey, I'm interested in doing play-by-play next year. I'd even do it for free. Okay, kidding aside, the last aspect of the presentation I want to go over is the replay. There is a replay option in this game, however, you'll have to be pretty quick about it. After a play is over, you'll notice next to the away team there is a box that says pause, replay, skip. This is the only time you'll have the option to watch a replay. I understand why having a built-in ability to access replays through a menu may not be worth it in the end, but I think it would do the player justice if the option to watch a replay lasted longer than a couple seconds. When you get into the replay, you get a quick UI to tell you what the button mappings are, and you get to rewind to normal speed and fast forward to normal speed. Nothing too crazy. The one disappointment for me here is you cannot track the ball, or at least I wasn't able to get it to work. Now let's get to the reason why people are here. Season play. Okay, it's not the reason people are here, but I have to just show you what it is first, and then we'll get to the College Dynasty mode. This is essentially your opportunity to play as the pro teams in season format. That's it. Moving on. Because let's be real, you are here for college football. Maximum Football 2019 is deeper than an indie game has any right to be. In fact, you're going to be hard-pressed to find indie games with this level of depth to them, such as this. From the 130 customizable teams to the very full rosters, all with different names, attributes, and looks, all the way to the amount of players you can recruit and how you can recruit, this game is unbelievably deep. We'll get into the actual gameplay momentarily, but I wouldn't be surprised to find out if people end up using this as a recruiting simulator, essentially. I only hit the tip of the iceberg in this video, as this is kind of an instant reaction first impressions review. So when you enter College Dynasty, immediately you're going to be asked whether you want to do American colleges or Canadian colleges. You also get the option to set the core length here, which disappointingly only allows 5 options instead of 15. You can have 3, 5, 7, 10, or 15-minute quarters. Nothing in between, just those. Difficulty can be set here, as well as gameplay options such as snapping on motion and a catch modifier percentage. After you decide all that, you can finally pick your team. This is almost entirely irrelevant because chances are you're going to customize them how you see fit anyway. And before I get into customizing my team and showing how that works, I'll do a quick run through of all the default teams and logos. It'll be fast, so pay attention. Yesterday, Canuck Play let people know that they were told by the NCAA certain names and logos needed to be changed since their parodies and colors were far too close to the real deal. This happened extremely recently, so I applaud them for getting this all fixed and situated and not having the game delayed because of this. Now let's customize some stuff. So when you jump into the customization, you can hit LB on Xbox or L1 I assume on the PlayStation 4 to switch between teams. Otherwise, do nothing with that button and work on yours. You can change the team name, their location, and even when their inaugural school year was. Stadium will give you a few choices, and color will give you sliders to use to alter the colors. Next, you can change your uniforms, and I'm going to address the immediate elephant with this. I'm going to pretend to use language I have no business using first though. So in here you can see options for font and the ability to add a caption, which is essentially the team name above the number on the front of the jersey. It appears that the font select box was not coded into the plane correctly. In fact, it's hard to tell which font names are what because of this. I get it's essentially irrelevant though, because you are looking at the look of the font on the jersey, not paying attention to the name of the font, but it's a graphical miscue that I had to point out, and I'm surprised that it slipped through the cracks. From this menu, you can customize your home and away jerseys as well as your helmet. Here's where you can add in your custom logo or pick from the deep amount that they included in the game. After that, you are free to customize each of your players as well. I wish this was snappier and more responsive, but again, this is just one of the concessions you'll have to make with an independent developer trying to create a full immersive AAA experience. They do have certain licensing deals including Zenith and Wilson, so your helmets and footballs aren't just random abominations. You are also free to mess with the player's attributes, but I have no desire to do so in this regard. As for overall customization, I don't think I'll be going the real world route, meaning I want to do teams like Blue Mountain State and live in an alternate reality and make it my own. Besides, trying to edit every single NCAA player's name would be a chore, and I would not get very far in playing if I did that. Recruiting. I haven't gotten far in this, and there's so much more for me to explore right now. In your dynasty, you are able to narrow down your search to either the top 100 prospects or the entire board. Be aware, if you are my goats, chances are a top recruit won't even listen to a darn word you say. Your school isn't worth it yet, but give it time. Perhaps you'll develop a powerhouse and the top high school wideout will want to take a scholarship. Once you do find a player willing to take that call, you can either call them yourself, text them, or have your assistant call them. Pay attention to certain facts, however, that are listed under the star rating. You might see a player is not too interested in vocal conversations, but happens to be willing to text. Selecting the correct route with recruits will open options for you to sell your program on. Whether it's the school's reputation, the facilities within the school, or the proximity to the recruit's hometown, so many things can influence a recruit's decisions to sign with your school. Once you make contact with the recruit, they are ineligible to be spoken to for the rest of the week. Throughout the season, you can keep selling a recruit on why they should come to your school and hope you land the big fish in the sea. I've only brushed on what recruiting is going to be all about, mainly because I want to fully dive into that world myself, but we do need to talk about the gameplay. So the cornerstone of any sports game is the gameplay. So how does it play? Like it looks, to be honest. Okay, that sounded mean. The game's visuals and actual gameplay itself reminds me an awful lot of NFL 2K for the Dreamcast. So many great memories, but it's very simple, but still has differences that will take some getting used to if you've been playing Madden a lot. For instance, your spin button has a left and right option, and they are located on your shoulder buttons. Juke works the same way, but with the triggers. Unfortunately, there is no stiff arm, truck stick, nor hit stick. Everything else will come to you naturally, except for maybe picking formations. It isn't completed by pressing A or the cross button, but rather hitting your directional pad or joystick to the right. This will open up the playbook and allow you to customize how you actually want to carve up the defense or spoil the offense. Something that I think the jury's still out on is how easy it is to burn DBs. If you find an open man, there's a solid chance you'll take it to the house. Now, this is an extremely small sample size of only a couple of drives, so I can't say if it has been attribute based or not, since in my college game you can see me getting burned on the very first play against a very good school, and my 111th ranked school can do the exact same burning a drive later. The passing game seems to be the most consistently well put together aspect of offense, meaning no hiccups or weird stutters happen with it. Again, small sample size, but I am comparing it to handoffs which have such a weird transition in completing them. Take a look for yourself. Now, as for passing, I have to point out something that I don't think anyone will end up mentioning because it absolutely needs to be praised. Color-coordinated passing routes. I can't tell you how many times in Madden I'm looking at my pre-snap play art and I can't tell which receiver is running which route because maybe the slot receivers line up right next to the tight end and they have initial trajectories that are similar. This creates confusion for me if I don't study the play hard enough while I'm picking it. In this game, however, each player has the color they are assigned to on the controller as the color of the route. Excellent design choice, well done. Moving over to running, my only gripe thus far has been mentioned. Everything else runs just fine and I've had no problems with it. Defensively, I have no complaints to report just yet, except for one, and that's selecting your player. Now, there are 3 buttons mapped in this game for selecting your player defensively. B button or circle will move your cursor closest to the ball. The shoulder buttons will rotate through the team. This can be cumbersome, and I kind of wish they had a hotkey combination in which it looks similar to Madden, where you can hold a button and move your cursor with the stick and narrow your player down faster, or perhaps using the D-pad as a way to select your players. Kicking may be my least favorite part of this game. For one, the camera angle is not advantageous to the player whatsoever. In my quick playthrough, I haven't had a kick that was a problem accuracy-wise, so the angle hasn't come into play, but it's just aesthetically unpleasing. I am not a fan of the actual kicking mechanic either. Well, I am, but not how it's implemented. I like the idea of a quick and accurate flick of the stick can achieve good things. What I am not a fan of is the lack of feedback for said mechanic. I have no idea what I need to improve upon without any input feedback from the game. This will create a ton of trial and error in my future when I'm trying to kick long field goals. Punting works the exact same way, but there's obviously far more leniency with this. Now, I need to address some quality of life problems I had immediately. I had a couple freezes right off the bat, one that required me to force quit the game, and another when I was forced out of the game and brought back to the home screen. This is concerning to me, and hopefully this gets addressed fairly soon. Next, where is a settings menu? Sound sliders, game sliders? There is really no way to truly customize a game you are actually playing either in-game or pre-game. Yes, there are a couple options, but nothing you can tweak about the game and how it's really played. Speaking of a lack of something, why do I not have the option to adjust my lineup in a game? You can change your depth chart in Dynasty before games, but if you want to maybe put a different player in, you do not have that option. I'm believing myself to believe injuries aren't a thing in this game because if they were, I'd imagine that being one of the very game options you'd have. Also, there's no manual save, which is a little odd, but this will come into play in my next section. Now me, I like being a positive person, so here's some quality of life pats on the back. Piggybacking off my last gripe, the game features autosave, like everywhere. Playing a Play Now game and you exit, boom, it's available to continue right where you left off immediately. Pretty good feature there. This works in Dynasty mode as well. It does leave you with the sense of risk, however, since you're not sure when and if it's saved, but I'd rather have it auto-saving randomly than not at all. The recruiting is the center of this game, and I feel like this is going to provide an insane amount of replay value to the game, making this worth the price of purchase. It truly has depth for what the game is, and we are the better for it. And fireworks! There are fireworks in this game! How cool is that? Seriously. So what are my first impressions? Well, for an indie football game, this is pretty good. As I mentioned before, it is not fair to compare this to Madden or NCAA because we aren't there with this. Could we in the future? If enough people let their money talk, we could see the ability for Canuck Play to acquire additional licensing, but that is a separate topic for another video. In this game, you're going to find a surprisingly deep recruiting mode, as well as a way to whet that college football appetite on your current generation console. The deep customization options, coupled along with a large group of colleges to round out your nation, this will provide fun for the college football diehard. Now here's the hard truth. Is it worth the $30 price tag they're asking for? Yes, and well, no. If we were to judge the game simply on a game, meaning how does it run, how does the experience compare to similar games in its genre, $30 is probably on the higher side. If you can't appreciate the work that goes into developing something like this with the limited team Canuck Play has, then the current asking price is probably not in your wheelhouse. However, if you understand the kind of work that needs to be done in a game like this and only want to see future versions of it improve on it drastically, then this needs to be a day one purchase if you're a college football fan. I'm not telling you to blindly buy a game and be disappointed with it, because if you're a college football fan, you will not be disappointed with what you get for $30. If you're buying this to play the pro modes, you need to spend a couple bucks on an older Madden game, update the rosters, and go nuts. But we aren't here for Madden or pro football. We are here for college. And we are here for Maximum Football 2019. So that was Maximum Football 2019. What did you think of it? Is it going to be a day one purchase for you? Why or why not? And if it isn't, what kind of price point does this need to get down to make it a purchase for you? Leave your thoughts below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, get notified of new content coming. Don't forget to @ me on Twitter @PartyBall. And as always, party on!